Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go do a podcast?
Sure.
Jump in.
Ladies and jellyfish, Barbies and Kens, Chelseas of all ages, and everyone else. Welcome to Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and with me I have my co-host. He thinks he can outsmart me. Unless that's just what he wants me to think. John!
Yes. I want you to think that Kelly's no longer here.
Yes, she has... I wasn't going to comment on it because the Barbie movies don't comment on it, but yes, Kelly has been replaced by Chelsea, just like she was replaced in the movies.
Yes, the child Kelly that used to be Barbie's sister no longer exists.
Yeah. So I thought I was changing to the ladies and jellyfish anyway for this movie, and I thought, hey, I'll switch over to Chelsea anyway.
I guess that's gonna be weird when I read it next.
Yeah, that's. I was thinking about that. It's a bit of a change.
It's gonna go against my groove, man.
I mean, if you want to keep saying Kelly,
Kelly's of all ages, Chelsea's of all ages. At least they're similar.
Yeah. But yeah, for those of you just joining us, we are a podcast about Barbie movies, and each week we watch one of the straight-to-DVD animated Barbie movies, and we rate its story, characters, animation, voice acting, and music to see how it stacks up. And this week we are talking about the 27th animated Barbie movie, Barbie the Pearl Princess.
The Pearl Princess.
This was released March 11, 2014, and was directed by Ezekiel Norton, who's directed a few of these, and written by Sidney Clark and Steve Granite. They've written a few of the past Barbie movies, including the last one, but this is their final Barbie movie.
Yeah,
so.
That's why I wanted this to get mentioned. It's because it's their last film.
Yeah. And the music is by Jim Dooley. He's done a few of these Barbie movies. Now, last week when we read the title of this one, I was a little bit pained.
I was skeptical too. You know, it's like, okay, Pearl's Princess. It's another mermaid film. I guess it's gonna be okay or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what your experience with this was. Because when I sat down to watch this, I was like, wait a second, this is actually kind of good. And then as it kept going, I was like, wait a second, this is actually very good.
It was. I was expecting for like a basic generic score, like nothing too bad, but like nothing great. Then I saw your scores and I was like, wait, what? It's like, there's no way that film is this good. And then I started watching it, and like the first note that I wrote was beautiful.
Yeah.
Compared to the last film, which was, wow, that's bad. Honestly, it was so refreshing. The first frames of this film were just really lovely to look at.
Yeah, I was curious because last night, because I watched this last night, right before I watched this, I had just gotten back from seeing Titanic, the 3D re-release, and that's a movie that just like emotionally destroys me. So I was wondering if this movie was like, if it was sort of being buoyed up by the Titanic afterglow, or if it was actually that good. So it's good to hear that we're in agreement here, at least a little bit.
It's not a perfect film, but like there's a lot of things going right for this film.
Yeah.
I will have some notes to say about how this thing could be improved. But overall, I think it's just a well done film.
Yeah. And in a way we haven't maybe seen in a while. It reminded me a lot of the early Barbie movies.
Yeah, it did. It did. Especially... Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I mean, we could jump right in because this is basically an adaptation of Rapunzel.
It is. It's Rapunzel. It's Anastasia.
Oh,
It's also something else that we've probably seen a million times before. Um, yeah, it just felt like a classic story
Yeah.
that we've seen so many times, but still interesting to watch.
And yeah, even with elements of Little Mermaid and Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty as well, I saw a little bit of that there.
Yeah,
And
Sleeping
yeah,
Beauty for sure.
it is very much like this movie came out 4 years after Tangled, and you can tell that this came out 4 years after Tangled, the Disney Rapunzel
I
movie.
no, I got that.
Okay,
Can we
yeah,
tell?
I could tell there's certain. I mean, just the fact that it's a Rapunzel story, and then also there's this big action set piece where a cave's collapsing.
No, I guess you're right. Yeah. Oh, and the healing
The
at the
healing,
end as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Okay, with their magic swirling. Okay.
But I think it's still drawing on these things that are older than Tangled, these classic storytelling tropes.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna fault it for
Yeah. Harry what was it? Henry Campbell's Hero of a
Hero's
Thousand Faces.
Journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Hero of a Thousand Faces.
Yes. Which then got adapted into the Hero's Journey. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, this is the story of Lumina, who is a
Mhm.
mermaid who lives with her aunt Scylla, who it's pretty clear from early on that she isn't actually her aunt. Like it's setting up this classic Rapunzel dynamic of you have the
Yeah.
obviously she's the princess and obviously this older character has stolen her away.
But the twist on this one is that the ant isn't actually bad.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll get into that further down because at the start of the movie, Scylla is very overprotective. She doesn't allow Lumina to leave the house. But meanwhile, in the kingdom of Sigundia,
Hmm?
the name it's not the greatest name any of these Barbie
Segundia.
movies. Yeah,
Okay.
but anyway, the king and queen are mourning the loss of their daughter many years ago. I wonder where she went.
She's dead.
Yes, they think she's dead. Um, and their general Caligo, how did I pronounce it?
Caligo.
Caligo. Oh yeah, yeah. He's planning a coronation ball for his son Fergus, who is the heir to the throne now that the princess is gone. Well, they think the princess is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but secretly, Caligo sends out his eel Murray, as in Murray.
Moray eel. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
to get a potion from Scylla to poison the king and queen, because Scylla was the one who was supposed to poison the princess. Obviously, that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's machinations going on in the background of this that I find interesting. But Murray delivers the invitation to the ball to Scylla, and as he's leaving, Lumina enters the room, and Murray becomes suspicious at her resemblance to the supposedly dead princess. But he returns to Caligo and informs him that the princess is still alive. And yeah, as we just said, Caligo was the one who tried to have her poisoned before, sort of because he wants his son to take over and maybe rule via his son.
Mm-hmm.
Which we've seen similar plots before. It's less clear how much control he wants to have over the kingdom in the end. But yeah, if he's going to rule through his son or if he just wants his son to be king.
It's the
But
Island
yeah,
Princess all over again.
yeah, Island Princess and the other one, Princess
The other
Charm
one.
School.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
It's more like Princess Charm School.
yes. But yeah, Scylla leaves for Segundia, but accidentally drops the invitation. And for Lumina, who's always kind of dreamed of leaving this house, she's like, this is enough of an excuse for her to leave and try and go after Scylla to return it.
Mm-hmm.
And she finds herself in the wide world for the first time and loses the invitation, but she befriends a stonefish named Spike and is eventually hired to work at the Salon La Mer
Somehow.
in the city. Yeah. it's we'll talk about that in like more detail later because the way she gets her job is kind of hilarious.
I know. Honestly, this is probably the point where we could probably fix up the script a little bit just by adding something. But we'll get to
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, all of the employees at this salon get invited to the royal ball that is happening. So Lumina goes along because she wants to see the castle. That's her motivation here. Um, and at the castle, Murray and Caligo realize who Lumina is and throw her in the dungeon, revealing to her that Scylla is going to poison the king. Of course, Lumina escapes and stops the king from drinking the poison, but Caligo pushes Scylla onto one of the stonefish's spikes before Scylla could explain everything. And Fergus, who's kind of throughout the movie been a bit put upon by everyone else, finally gets his heroic moment where he stands up to his father and gives Scylla the antidote. And Scylla finally tells everyone that Caligo hired her to poison the king, just like he hired her to poison Lumina. And she had other machinations going on, which we'll have to go into in more detail later, because she wasn't actually going to poison the king. But anyway, she way back in the past when she was hired to poison Lumina, the princess, she wasn't able to, so instead she hid her away and has been kind of in a protective way. Like that's where
Yes.
the change you were mentioning comes in, where because in the Rapunzel story, it's Gothel steals Rapunzel away as sort of like a selfish act, whereas here it's like Sleeping Beauty, where Aurora is taken and like far off where she's out of danger.
Except this time the
Except,
parents are not aware.
yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, Scylla apologizes for everything, but the king and queen actually forgive her and invite her to live in the castle because Lumina doesn't like Lumina still loves Scylla as this sort of parental figure,
Yeah.
and Caligo gets thrown out a window.
Yeah. That's something.
I, I interpreted that as like he's been banished and they're gonna deal with him later.
But no, the hair salon octopus just like twirls him around and throws him out the window. And we assume that's it for Caligo.
Yeah, there isn't a sequel to this one yet, at least not that I know of. So
I assume he ended up like a turtle who gets trapped with plastic Coke things around his neck. He chokes to death on the pearls.
oh no, yeah, that's might be the case.
They could say the word killed in this one, so
Yeah, which they've had that before.
not often. It's
Not
rare.
often, yeah. Though rarely do these movies involve much death. This one involves like poisonings and plots and political intrigue.
Again, with our political intrigue.
Yeah, which was
This,
one of the hallmarks of those early Barbie movies.
yes, and every princess movie in general.
One thing I like about this story is that it's really good at setups and payoffs. So like you have spikes, he's the stonefish, and he has
Yeah,
little spikes, and
yeah.
Lumina sort of puts pearls on the end of each spike so that he doesn't scare people anymore. And then at one, it's like, okay, I think there's something gonna happen with that. And then at one point, one of them gets knocked off, and that ends up being the thing that Scylla falls on the spike and gets poisoned.
That's
And
such a
then,
dangerous fish to have around
yeah.
casually.
And then even like Lumina putting the pearls in everyone's hair that then becomes important when she needs to use them at the ball.
Hmm.
Like, because she has pearl magic. I don't know if we
And
mentioned
also
that before.
hairstylist magic as
Yeah,
well.
she's a pearl bender.
She's a pearl bender, but she can also do hair
Yeah,
separately from the pearls.
yes. I think it's with the pearls, which is why all of the hairstyles have the pearls.
I guess.
which she then takes back in this big action scene and like is able to save the day because of it. And
Hmm.
even less plot relevant things like the narwhal that
The
steals the invitation
narwhal.
from them. You think, huh, that's just an interesting little moment. And then it's like everyone's going to the ball and the narwhal shows up with the invitation still stuck on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter to the plot. It's just like a callback to something that happened earlier.
It's just a
That
random thing.
yeah.
This random narwhal decides, you know what? I want to go to the ball because I care. I'm a
Yeah.
narwhal.
Yeah, it was just I love it when, and it's a fundamental storytelling thing that a lot of movies get right, but it's always fun when these Barbie movies also get it. Like the setups and the payoffs are fun.
Hmm.
Because it also, a lot of these are like part of character arcs
Right.
where we have like Lumina has the Rapunzel arc of she's discovering the world for the first time. But then we also have like Fergus gets his own arc, and Scylla gets her own arc, and the Stonefish gets his own arc.
A bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so some of these
Very
arcs are
quick.
smaller than others, but
Very quick arcs all
yep.
around.
Yeah, Scylla's arc is a bit longer and is probably the biggest arc of the movie.
Sure.
Where she's kind of,
She's not on screen a whole lot until the end.
yeah. But she's very like conflicted about what she should do.
Hmm.
And then ends up like being a very important part of everything in the end. Which I like it. Like I wrote down here in my notes that this is a nice core movie.
Nice core.
Yeah, so just like a movie that has an emphasis on nice things happening. So like
Mm.
everyone who can be redeemed is redeemed. And even the characters like Spike, his character design, he's a stonefish. He looks kind of ugly, but he gets this nice arc about like finding friendship and people who appreciate him. And then Fergus gets his own like mini arc about like everyone dislikes him and thinks he's weird, but then he becomes sort of a very important, like he saves the day.
Hmm. Because he wants to be a
Yeah,
botanist.
yeah. Yeah, we'll get into that with the characters. I wrote down an exact line from him.
I think, yeah. I think he also wrote something down for him.
But yeah, just like in any other movie, he might be just the comedic relief. Look at how weird this character is. He's not fit to be king. But no, here he gets an arc, and then he also gets to have people be nice to him,
Hmm.
and that is given like focus. Yeah, there's just so many moments of people being nice, decent people. Like the lady who runs the hair salon, Madame Ruckus,
Yeah.
is just like nice. You said you had some improvements to make.
Yeah. The story gets real whack once Lumina enters the city and then gets a job and then gets popular enough in the job that people are coming to meet this new stylist. And then we don't really have a time frame about when all this took place.
Yeah,
It really feels like this story is supposed to take place in like a day.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
it
that
doesn't
was my
feel like it.
interpretation.
So if we like made a quick change of like, okay, this story takes place over a week, so it takes some time to get to the kingdom. Once she's there, she gets a job. Maybe she learns a bit more about the kingdom, and then they get ready for the ball, and that happens in the final days.
Yeah,
That way,
give
there's a proper chronology to when all this happened versus, and then suddenly she got a job, and then suddenly the prince showed up and got a job too, and then
you see,
suddenly
I like
Fergus
that
shows
thinking.
up. That's funny too, but it just happens all so suddenly, and I
Yeah.
have no idea what the time frame is. Because like, oh, she's doing great at the job. She's fully committed. She's making friends with all the stylists. She's forgotten completely about Asilla. Do we even know if she has a place to live? I don't know.
I think she's honestly just taking things as they, and that's why I like the bit that she just kind of stumbles her way into a job, because it's just so random and weird.
No, that bit's fine. I love it. But then she stays at the job, no question
Yeah.
is asked, and does a great job enough for that they all get invited to the dance in the evening. That's why I
Yeah.
feel like we need like a week.
Yeah. I would agree that like a longer timeline, and you don't
It,
even
it,
need
it
to
does
change
it doesn't
anything.
seem like much, but adding
Yeah.
just a tiny bit amount will flesh this story out so much.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good change that could have helped a little bit. And then even like having a scene where one of the, because the other employees at the salon, they get a little bit of characterization,
Yeah.
but you know what if that one um other hairdresser like said, hey, do you have a place to stay, Lumina? Oh no, I don't. Hey, why don't you stay at my place?
Yeah, something
Like
like
that
that.
would have been a fun moment.
Then it would be a longer film by about 10,
Well,
15 minutes, but still.
I, adding that one scene might be like 30 seconds longer, but yeah, I think if you did more, you could expand this to be quite long,
Mm.
which is true of a lot of these Barbie movies. Though this one, I think, does a much better job juggling a bunch of characters than even like the last movie. One of our big complaints is that you have, it's Barbie and her sisters, so there's four main characters, are kind of
And
all,
other foils to those characters, and they
yeah.
all are exactly the same.
Which here I think we have a similar number of characters, but because we have clear protagonist,
They're
clear
all distinct
foils,
enough as
yeah,
well.
yeah, and they all have their own stories going on.
Mm.
And I did want to say that I'm really happy that Sidney Clark and Steve Granite were kind of able to pull off a really great Barbie movie, because I saw elements of that, particularly in Ponytail, of like
Yeah.
there's something that they're getting at, which is more interesting than the sum of what the whole movie is. So I thought it was nice that they were able to do this. And then, of course, it's a little bit bittersweet because this is their final Barbie movie. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, they cracked the code. Oh, now they're done.
Yeah.
But even like the dialogue was on point. So yeah, overall, I gave the story a 4 out of 5. I would consider bumping it up, but I think part of it is that, since this is borrowing so much from pre-established stories, I am sort of taking a little bit off, but I think
Yeah.
it's phenomenally well executed.
Yeah. Because it's well executed, I give it a 3.5. Because it is borrowing from a lot of the same tropes we've seen in previous films, it's not higher. And also, it's still not perfect. I still feel like the time frame issue
Yeah,
could help bring this up, but for now, it's still at a really good 3.5.
yeah. So next up, we have the characters, and first up on that list is Lumina,
Mm-hmm.
who's the Rapunzel here, or as you said, the Anastasia.
The Anastasia, yes.
And she's I mean, she's the kind, clever, and brave that all Barbie characters have to be.
Yeah, she's the Barbie character.
I think it she serves an interesting role here. I think her being the outsider, and that she gets to spend a lot of time being fascinated by everything around her,
Yeah, yeah.
and then randomly getting a job, and then she finds a way to succeed in it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I wonder if she goes back to the job after becoming princess.
yeah,
I would love to see that.
Yeah, this is one they could do something interesting with a sequel because you have so many interesting characters that are
Well, maybe not
established.
now.
Yeah, uh, yeah.
For other reasons. We'll get to that when that day
Okay,
comes.
okay,
But yeah.
yeah. Um, and what are the things like her pearl magic ended up being really interesting.
I really wish they used it more.
Yeah,
It's such a useful power.
but it doesn't seem like at first glance that it would be all that interesting. But they end up doing some neat stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is maybe a little bit tossed off.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like those random abilities we've been giving our main character for the past few films.
Yeah,
Like Princess and the Pop Star, they had the random brushes that did hair and dress stuff.
yeah, the
It kind of feels like this, but this makes more sense because it's genetic.
yeah. Oh, one thing I forgot that I forgot to even type it in my notes. The emphasis on like hairstyling, because obviously this is a Barbie movie, so
Mm-hmm.
even just the idea of like that's part of what the dolls are for. They have the hair that you can brush and style. So I like that that was a big part, both of the story and of Lumina's character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, the floor is or the roof is creaking above me. My family have all decided to stomp around upstairs.
For the game, I suppose.
I don't know. It sounds like they might be planning something. Oh, I know why. Anyway, um,
Kuda.
Kuda, yeah, she's one of these characters that feels like a classic Barbie character.
Yeah.
Like she reminded me a bit of Lila from Swan Lake,
Mm-hmm.
just in sort of her purpose in the story and her temperament. She's the sort of reluctant accomplice here to Lumina, who's the more go-getter.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about her. She is mainly the sidekick who
Yeah.
comments on things and tries to get Lumina out of trouble.
Yep.
The only thing of note is that she looks like a pony.
Yeah, she is a seahorse.
She's a
So
seahorse, but like the way they do her hair, it's like, that
yeah.
looks like a pony.
Yeah, because seahorses don't have that kind of hair at all.
I know. So I saw that and I was weirded out.
So yeah, next up we have Aunt Scylla, who
Yes.
she's just the most fascinating character here, and kind of reminded me of. Oh, now I've got to look this up because we did a bonus episode on the School for Good and Evil, the movie that came out on Netflix. That wasn't very great, but I read the book before doing that, and um really liked the book. And that author has a collection of short stories. Soman Chainani. Okay, so he wrote a book called Beasts and Beauty: Dangerous Tales, and it's like a collection of fairy tale reimaginings. And one of them is sort of this similar what if the Rapunzel story, what if Gothel was nurturing and loving.
Mm.
And so this reminded me a lot of that. Um, so I really liked it, and I like those kinds of reimaginings of fairy tales. And then I think they do a really good job giving her a good motivation.
Yeah, she's hired to kill the child, but instead takes it away.
Yeah. And then even beyond that, her sort of she doesn't want to poison the king, but she gets brought in to do it. And then she's fully planning on poisoning
Oh
the
yeah.
Caligo. Like she was gonna do it. And she
I
was even
thought that
like,
she poisoned all the glasses,
yeah,
and then trying to psych him out.
yeah.
She's like,
And she's doing that Princess Bride thing of like getting him in his own head about which glass is poisoned and which one isn't. So he's constantly switching them back and forth. Which was the line at the top. She thinks she's smarter than me, unless that's just what she wants me to think. Which you could put that in Monty Python and it would work.
Yes. No, that
Or
was a
not
great
Monty
moment.
Python, Princess Bride.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I like that, like, the thing that inspires her is she overhears the king and queen talking about how terrible everything has been for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gets her to change her heart to the point where she's like, no, I'm not gonna try and poison Caligo. But of course he's doing his best to make sure the king gets poisoned, so that turns into a whole big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, she has to come clean about everything, but she gets redeemed and she gets forgiven.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
I
who's
don't
not
know.
forgiven?
Caligo.
Caligo.
He's a classic villain.
Oh yeah.
He
He,
doesn't
he's
have
he's your basic villain.
yeah, he doesn't have complex motivations, but he has clear motivations
Yeah.
and clear
No.
steps. Like,
Yeah,
it's never
compared
in
to other
question.
Barbie movie characters, we do understand what his motivation is.
Yeah. And he's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, we'll talk about the actor
Yes.
later on, but he has similar qualities to Tim Curry, which makes him
Yes.
interesting to just generally watch. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, not a very complex character, but there is sort of, he's so simple that it works.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we already talked about the Princess Bride bit with the poisoned cups. That was just a fun moment of him getting in his own head and trying to figure out, well, clearly I can't choose the wine in front of me.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So yeah, that was, I think it could have been, because obviously Scylla knew which one was poisoned and which one wasn't. I kind of wonder if that would work a little bit better if we, the audience, also knew. But I like the reference there.
It is a nice reference. I don't know. I think she should have just poisoned all of them. All of them.
Well, yeah, I think I was wondering if she had like put like a sleeping draft or something, or like,
Or done something different like that.
yeah. But I think it ended up working out in the movie's favor. They spun something really interesting from that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of references to classic comedy fantasy movies that I always get mixed up, we have Fergus, who, I
Honestly, a
mean,
surprise character for me.
yeah,
His first scene, I was thinking, oh no, he's gonna be that character that's just too much.
yeah,
And then he has an arc, and I'm like, oh, he's
yeah,
actually not that bad. He's
yeah,
sweet.
yeah. He's the sweet little gay boy of the
Yeah.
movie. Um,
Bye in this case.
well, yeah, I think the mermaid that he dances with here is gonna be not gonna be having a long term relationship with him, but they're gonna be best friends forever.
Yeah.
Because he even gets like a makeover. It's so
Oh,
sweet.
it is.
And like, that Lumina is just like so sweet to him, and it's like the first time anyone has been nice to him
Mm-hmm.
and introduces him to the lady he maybe has a crush on. I was interpreting it more as like a platonic crush. But yeah, the movie is like
A
giving him a
platonic
little
crush.
romance. Yeah, like when you see someone and you're like, oh man, I wish I was their friend.
Mm.
But anyway, that's my own personal interpretation of what's going on here.
Okay.
But yeah, as you said, he starts as the comedic relief a little bit, and even just like the character who gets made fun of, but then he actually like saves the day at the end. And it's, I don't know if it's even quite, I guess it is an arc because he's standing up to his dad, but he doesn't have to change anything about who he is.
Well, it's confidence, really, because he's not
Yeah,
really
yeah,
confident in what he does. Like,
yeah,
he always shuts himself down because of his father. He's not confident enough to speak to the nail lady until
yeah.
Lumina just shoves him.
Yep.
And, like, he doesn't speak up to his father until the nail lady is, like, shoving him again.
Yep.
So,
And that's where we get the iconic line. I keep telling you I don't want to be king. I want to be a botanist.
yes, earlier there was this small moment that they almost had a Pinocchio. But
Okay.
father,
Oh yes, yes.
it started similar, but not quite. But as soon as I heard that, I just couldn't stop thinking, but father, I want to be a botanist.
Yeah, the Polly Shore Pinocchio trailer
Yeah.
that I'll have to splice in the audio from that trailer because it is iconic. But yeah, that line reading was so similar.
Splice the audio. You've got me. But father, what can I go out to be on my own?
Okay, that's a pretty spot on impression of it.
Yeah, avoid the copyright. You got me.
But yeah, I think that's the scene that was giving me big Monty Python and the Holy Grail vibes. Where he's in his room and his father's like, "You
Oh,
need to get married," and he's like,
oh
"No, I don't want to
yes.
get married." And he's staring out the window, and I was expecting him to, "I want to sing."
No, no, none of that.
No, no castles burning down, falling over, and then sinking into swamps. No, nothing of that. But the moment was just so similar. I'm like, oh, I think that's an intentional reference, not just like a. And then the Princess Bride thing also makes me think, yeah, that was an intentional reference.
hmm
I know, even though I interpreted the relationship with the nail tech as like not something that was gonna last,
It
I
was
did
still
like
fun.
it was sweet. It was sweet, and
Yeah.
she was so nice to him.
hmm
But yeah, that's my own headcanon about how that relationship will play out in the future.
The other character who I'll say is probably some of the Fergus. I'm moving ahead a little bit. Is Spike,
Yes,
who
yes,
shows up, but he's a nice guy. He has pearls on his spikes, and he
yeah.
tells terrible jokes.
Yeah, and he starts out and I'm like, ooh, I'm a scary stonefish, and then Lumina is not at all scared and puts the pearls on his spikes, and I was like, is that what you really want to be? And he's like, no, I want to have friends.
hmm
And then he
hmm
gets friends, and it's sweet.
Yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot in the film.
No,
He's there in the first act, gets lost in the city, but people like his pearls, so
yeah,
there you go. And then he gets invited to the event
yes,
where he poisons a girl and doesn't get punished
unintentionally.
for it.
Well, it was entirely unintentional.
In our world, accidents, who cares? You poison someone, you go to jail.
uh, there was so much intentional poisoning going on that I think the unintentional poisoning was looked over. But I was so surprised because when he's introduced, he seemed like a one scene threat,
Yeah, like one of those villains for a chase and then they escape.
and then even like his design is intentionally supposed to look a little ugly in a way that I was like, oh, he's gonna be like they're gonna leave him behind and never think of him again. But no, he ends up going on this journey with them and then being a part of this whole
But
movie.
people only like him because of his pearls.
Yeah.
I felt bad about that when they left him
Yeah,
behind.
yeah,
It's like, oh, I get this. I get this is like nice for him, but like they only care about his pearls. Not, I'm
I,
sure that he took those off. They'll be like, oh no, he's scary. Don't touch
yeah,
me.
yeah. That's that is true. I still liked his arc.
hmm
And then
Yeah,
yeah, next up we have Murray, the moray
Murray,
eel, who
Moray.
is just the way he moves is so perfect.
He's one of the better sidekick villain
Yeah.
characters.
He's just so slimy in like
Mm-hmm.
both the texture way and in the characterization way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
He's
I don't
not
know, he
that
was
annoying.
yeah.
He does his job confidently, competently as well.
He's fun to watch.
He
I like the
is.
moment where he's like, "Oh, since you said this, now I am authorized to say this."
Mm-hmm.
And he does that
The
multiple
card
times.
playing with him and his other brothers
Yes.
was the best scene. I feel like a lot of those lines were just ad-libbed by the actors.
Hit me. I'm not gonna hit you.
No,
Yeah.
it was just a really fun scene. I was more interested in just watching the rest of the film being the card game than the actual story, because I just found that to be such entertainment.
Yeah. That great character, lots of great moments. That
Mm-hmm.
again, I wasn't really expecting that from this movie at all.
Yeah.
And speaking of people I wasn't expecting, Madame Ruckus. Who
Yep.
is she just shows up. She has like the Dolly Parton hair and the Dolly Parton
Yep.
accent. And she's
Yep.
just like handing out jobs to random strangers.
Yep.
Just like Lumina like comes in through the window and she's like, "Oh, here's a job." And the prince is just walking down the street and he's like, "Okay, here's a job."
Yeah. Well, she was waiting for someone to have a job.
Yeah.
Did they not show up?
I mean, that might be the case. I work a sort of entry level job, and occasionally someone like today, someone was supposed to come in to be trained and just like never showed up.
Hmm.
Now I didn't grab a random visitor to the store and just like say, "Okay, you have a job here now." But Madame Ruckus definitely did.
Yeah.
And like she's extremely loyal to her employees and is like
So
checking up on
loyal.
them. And
So
like
loyal.
she's known Lumina for like half a day, but is immediately like, no, she in the royal ball when it looks like, oh, maybe she was trying to kill the king. She's like, no, that's not the case. I know this person.
I will fight the royal guards,
Yes. For this employee who I just met.
risk execution for treason because of this one hairstylist I met earlier today who's
Yeah.
very good at her job.
She's just so wonderful.
Yes.
Like such a great presence in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the I don't have a separate notes thing for the other employees at the salon, but they get their own like they aren't huge characters, but they have their own personalities here.
They're both distinct. I was a little
Yeah.
disappointed that was all we got.
Yeah,
I
we
wanted
have
more.
the one lady with like the was it like a Pittsburgh accent?
Your typical hairstylist accent.
Yeah,
I would say.
Who's initially a little bit prickly, but then warms up and actually like, and then the nail lady who has this sort of romance with Fergus. And yeah, they both get moments to stand out, and then also like Lumina sort of experimenting with hair design inspires them to try their own new things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought that like that whole part in the salon, I was worried when she went in, oh no, is this gonna be how is this gonna turn out? And it ended up being so much better than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Where like we met these interesting characters and got some interesting scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And a music number, which we will talk about later.
We'll talk about that later.
But yeah, the last character I have here to talk about is Prince Delphin. Not Prince Dolphin, who is a separate character also in this movie, who is apparently best friends with Prince Delphin.
Yeah.
Who he doesn't get a ton to do, but he has some good moments with Lumina.
Yeah, I do like that he was one of the ones that get the job as well.
Yeah. he's just walking down the street and it's like, oh, maybe this octopus can tell me where I need to go, and then he ends up making a delivery. Just kind of like, yeah.
Hmm.
And then like he and Lumina have this dance together at the ball that I really liked.
Hmm.
And even though it's like there's so little screen time, I was still rooting for his romance with Lumina.
Yeah, it's the same with a lot of other romances with the Barbie films. There's
Yeah.
so little screen time.
But
Um.
for me, unlike a lot of those other romances, this one actually worked.
Oh yeah.
Even though like there's not enough screen time and Prince Delphin has no characterization. Just just something about the way it developed worked really well for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other thoughts on characters?
Just a lot of characters, a lot of fun. They're
Yeah.
each distinct. Compared to the last film where we had too many, they were all the same. I gave the characters a 3.5. They're solid.
Yeah. I gave them a 4.5. Just I was having so much fun, and each new character we met brought something to the story.
Hmm. Yeah, if more time was spent with each of the characters, this would probably bump up the score for me.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, next up we have the animation.
Oh yes,
Yeah. It's incredible, gorgeous, like everything, the colors, the
it's
shadows, the bubbles, the character designs.
it's very interesting because the character models themselves, what's detailed is the features, like the
Yeah.
facial expressions and some of the movement. The actual texture of the models is kind of like the last film, but what really works is the lighting and how the
Yeah.
models move. Where the last ones, they didn't look great. The lighting didn't really work for them, and they were really stiff. Here, it was really nice to look at. It was similar to like the classic Barbie films that we had seen before we had the little skin texture applied to like Princess Charm School or even
Yeah.
Mermaid Tale. Here it was like, oh wow, that's the basic Barbie model from the older films, but it looks really good because
Yeah.
of the lighting and the updated features.
Yeah, I think you're right to say that they put the work into specific things
Yeah,
to
because the
make those
hair
specific things look
was
right.
not as detailed as the last film,
Yeah.
but it still really worked for this.
Yeah. And hair is such a big thing here, and also hair underwater is just difficult.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um this is kind of I was watching yesterday before I saw Titanic a featurette on like Avatar: The Way of Water and the visual effects of that. And it's
Hmm.
like just made me look at the underwater stuff here differently and how it does feel like they're underwater.
Yeah. One of the other things that I felt was really good is that the city and the kingdom felt like a city and a kingdom.
Yes.
It was lively. It was crowded. Um, in almost every other situation, when they go to the city of the kingdom, it's like five people, or in terms of the kingdom, three guards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, but here it was like filled. I never doubted that this was a kingdom or a city. I just fully believed in it, which was really nice to see.
Yeah. The and the like design of everything is just wonderful, especially like the castle has these like long oval windows that are just like so cool. And my favorite thing was the there when Lumina leaves, she's like, "Where do we go?" and comes across this like large wall of red coral and swims up, and eventually there's like this skull of a sea monster sticking out, and that's
Hmm.
like the tunnel that they have to swim through, and it's like a bone tunnel through this red coral. That was just fun. And then there's a
Yeah,
set piece where it all collapses, but
my favorite location in this film was when Scylla
Scylla, yeah.
Scylla went to get the wine.
Oh,
It
the
was just
wine
like a gorgeous
cellar.
brown
Yeah.
place that had this really great lighting. It just felt like a rustic ski lodge. It felt really nice. I would want to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, so many locations, and they're all visually distinct as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even within the castle, you have different levels and different levels of lighting.
Yeah.
And like the dungeon is less well lit than the ballroom. And yeah, the character models themselves also look fantastic. Like Lumina has so much expression in just her face.
Yeah.
And the supporting cast as well just all look great.
Although I will say, Ruckus is the only one I kind of
Yeah,
I kind of
Madame Ruckus is an abomination.
she is.
She looks like, I love the Dolly Parton hair, and that's it. She's the
Yeah.
wrong color.
Oh, she's she's like similar to the early designs that we got from Mermaidia.
Yeah.
You have the snail, that one dolphin.
Yeah. I wouldn't say she's quite as bad as the Joker dolphin or the turtle,
No, she's not
but
that bad.
she's
But when
less
I
to
look at
steal your
her, I'm
soul.
like, something's not right here.
Yeah. I think part of it is that her, like, the color they chose is just too similar to skin
It
color.
it's the lips.
It's the lips as well. It's kind of everything. There's a scene where like all of the staff look in the camera, and
Yeah,
it's a little bit terrifying
yeah.
because she's in the background just like smiling.
Hmm.
Um yeah. But at the same time it worked for me. Like, or at least it didn't not work. Cuz I was interested
Hmm.
enough in her character. And then like another great character model is Caligo has a shark tail. All of the other mermaids have mammal tails go up and down, fish tails
Hmm.
go side to side. So all of the characters except for Caligo have mammal tails,
Oh, I didn't notice that.
and he has a shark tail. And yeah, it was a little cool like detail that
Interesting.
I was like, oh, that's, you don't see that often in mermaid designs. You'll see it every once in a while, but it's always fun when that shows up. And then like everyone gets hairstyle changes here that are a lot of fun. Especially Fergus getting a glow up is just great. I love that scene.
Hmm.
So yeah, the oh, and Murray, who we already talked a bit about, the way he moves is just perfect.
Yeah,
And he
even the
just
way
kind
he's
of,
designed is
yeah,
similar to the type of character that they were going with, which we'll talk about in the voice acting section.
yeah. And yeah, I don't know. He was just fascinating to watch. Just even like
Hmm.
swimming in place, the way his, I don't know if it's a fin when an eel has it, but like long fin on the back, and how it would move compared to his
Hmm.
body.
Yeah.
And then like the camera work here is so good. Like the angles are so dynamic and the camera movement is incredible. There's a specific scene in this sort of the montage when they're getting ready for the ball that plays with 3D space in a little in an interesting way. I was curious if this stood out to you.
I didn't notice it. No.
Okay, because what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna have you watch it
Okay.
because I think it is that good. And I'll have to link it in the show notes as well. I'll I have the clip at the specific time because yeah, it is, the way the camera is moving is just so dynamic.
Okay.
I'll sort of describe it as I'm watching it. It starts with a character is swimming up some stairs, and then beneath her on the other side of the stairs there's another character swimming, And then they swim past Lumina, who's kind of observing everything, and then gets dragged into this big dance with all these other mermaids. And the camera's like swooping and turning and spinning, and it's just so much fun.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
And like,
It is very dynamic. I was focused on the music at this point, so
yes, yeah,
but yeah, no, I see what you mean. That's a lot of work right there.
yeah,
Really well done.
and it is like just one continuous shot. Um, so yeah, and there's so much of that throughout where it's like they put in the effort to think what's a more interesting camera angle here than just like medium static
Hmm.
shot of the character. So yeah, I gave the animation a 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I thought it was good too. I get a 3.8. Um, what the reason why it doesn't quite make a 4 is one, Madame Ruckus. She's not that bad, but
She's almost that bad.
when I look at her, I don't know. But also the basic character models, they take a step back just to perfect the lighting and the way they move
Yeah,
versus adding the textures that we really like when they add the textures.
yeah,
Um, so it's not quite mwah, but it's still really good.
yeah, yeah. I would agree. Which I think it's very deserving of a 4.5 though.
Oh no, yeah,
They
no.
put in that extra effort, which the
Oh yeah,
last movie had its moments, but
it's really good.
this is just top tier.
Hmm.
And yeah, next up we have the voice acting,
Voice acting, yes.
which yeah, Kelly Sheridan once again great. She really brings her A game here. Like I felt like Lumina had more fullness to
Hmm.
her. And I think part of that's just the writing as well.
Yeah. Now Kelly's doing what Kelly does best. Barbie.
Yep. We also have Katie Crown, who, like, I don't think anything she's doing is stands out all that much, except that she keeps Kuda from being annoying.
Oh yeah, I could easily imagine Kuda being much more. Imagine if Tabitha was Kuda.
Yeah, yeah,
Then like
that
that would be extreme
yes,
because we know Tabitha can go all out. Um, the next one was Patricia
yep. Patricia, oh, I have it here. Patricia Pattenden, who plays
or
Scylla.
Trish Pathenden. Yeah,
Yep, and this is one of only 6 voice acting roles she is credited for on IMDb.
there must be a reason behind it.
Yeah, I imagine that she just doesn't, like, she isn't normally a voice actor and she just kind of comes in for,
Maybe
but
she works at the studio,
yeah,
and then when they want a voice for a character, they bring her in.
yeah, and all of the projects she's been on, I noticed one of them was Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, and that was in the credits of a lot of the cast here.
Hmm.
So I think that's just like she has some connection to the studio and comes in when they need her to.
It seems that if they're looking for a parental figure, they go to Patricia
Yeah.
because I remember she is a character in Ponies, and that's a parental figure as well.
Okay.
So maybe that's what the people at the studio feel about her. So
Yeah. I thought she was phenomenal here.
mhm. Yeah,
She just knocked it out of the park. Which, if you're gonna only have 6 roles and work intermittently, when you show up and it's this good, like, yeah, that's just wonderful. And then yeah, we also have John Novak, who plays Caligo, who I think you had stuff to say on him.
yeah, like he had the same energy as Tim Curry in this.
Yes.
I feel like he could replace Tim Curry's voice roles at times because he's
Okay.
almost sounds similar if he
Yeah.
tries to be. So I really think that he could be a double for Tim.
Yeah, his line deliveries are so good
Mm-hmm.
in that sort
It's
of Tim
hammy.
Curry. Like he
Yeah.
hits the right. And yeah, he's a very prolific voice and TV actor. He worked on Death Note, Stargate, Legends of the Fall, a bunch of other stuff.
Whenever they film in Vancouver, it seems like he's there.
Yeah, and he's one of the other people who was in Ghost of the Shell standalone complex.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, it was like every person who I looked into had a credited role in that. So definitely seeing that sort of studio talent here. And we also have Peter New, who plays
Peter
Murray.
New.
He's been in a few Barbie movies, but this is the first time he's like jumped out to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's known for he did stuff for My Little Pony, also Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the live action
Oh,
movie.
like he's kind of like John Novak in that
Yeah,
whenever a lot of CW shows film in Vancouver, and so he will do like maybe an episode
yeah.
in one of those shows. He's one of those type of actors, and so he's in a lot of those things. Um, yeah, no, I love Peter New. He plays a character in Ponies that for most of the time only says one line. He's kind of like Perry the Platypus, where he has that
Okay,
catchphrase, but
okay.
him is like a word. And
So
so
like
when
Hodor.
yeah, and so whenever he like says something, it's really meaningful when it's
Okay.
other than the line. But yeah, he's really fun as well. He has a range in how deep his voice can go and how high he can go, which is fun to see. You had made a note that you were not sure what accent that he was going with
Yes.
here. Um, and as soon as I was hearing him, I could tell that it's less of a specific accent, but they're trying to emulate a character type in that
Okay.
there's this character type that they used a lot in early animation where you have like a creepy mad scientist who has a lisp. And
Oh,
I sent you the clip from Looney Tunes. There's a mad
yeah.
scientist there who creates a monster called Gossamer, the giant red thing. And so he has this like creepy little accent of I don't know what kind of thing he's speaking, but
Yeah.
he speaks like that, and that's what I got from hearing Murray is that they were going for that slimy voice character who sometimes they'll use a voice like that for the sidekick to the mad scientist. So like Igor would
Yeah.
have a similar sounding voice.
Okay. Yeah, that explains a lot because
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit like, I'm not sure what the accent is, but it's really working.
Oh yeah, it fits the
Yeah.
sliminess of the character really well.
Yeah. I was thinking it almost sounds like maybe Easter or yeah, Eastern European.
It's something
Like
over
like
there.
a little bit of a hint of that. I also was hearing like a tiny bit of Polly Shore. Just like a little teensy little bit.
Tiny bit of Pauly Shore.
Polly Shore
Um,
if he were a slimy moray eel.
yeah. Other people in the cast that uh, there's a lot of names in this cast
Yeah.
that I'm happy to see. We got Kathleen Barr again.
Yes.
Yeah, she played the Dolly Parton
Yes.
octopus. Tabitha has a short
Very
role.
good
Mm-hmm.
in that. But both of
Yes.
them.
The one actress that I've been waiting to see her in here is Rebecca Shoishet. She played the queen, the mother.
Yes.
Um, she plays one of the best characters in Ponies, and she's a fantastic singer. And so I was just wondering, like, if she would ever show up in this because she's always fun to see.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed that her role was small, but I'm glad to see her name here.
Yeah.
So
I wonder I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of her in the future as well.
yeah, maybe. Although at this point she's kind of stuck with ponies.
Ah, yeah.
Same as Kelly. Pretty soon.
Yeah, that's fair. I did also want to shout out the two coworkers from Madame Ruckus's salon as well, who
Mm-hmm.
I believe I have the right people here. I don't know remember what their names are, but we have Mackenzie Porter playing Cora and
Mm-hmm.
Nikki Burke playing Sandrine. Sandrine must be the other hairstylist.
Centuries, the Pittsburgh accent
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, they both did a great job with characters who don't have a ton to do, but are still you need to get those characters right.
Yeah.
And I thought they did great. And yeah, even Brian Doe who plays Delphin, like doesn't have much time, but makes a character with that time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, overall I gave the voice acting a 4 out of 5. I thought it was or 4.5 out of 5, sorry.
Yeah. I give it a 4 out of 5. It was solid as usual.
Yeah. So yeah, last up we have the music,
Mm-hmm.
which yeah, the music was great.
Yeah. Same as last film. It was well done. Even the original song was
Yeah.
well done. I think it was done better in this film than the last in terms of when the music plays, because they
Yeah.
built up to the
Oh yeah.
song.
Yeah.
It was put in there at the right moment with the proper location, what was going on. It was nice. I wouldn't say it's my favorite song, but it really works with the style of this
Yeah,
location.
they introduce it at just the exact right time where it's like
Yeah.
usually when they're like okay, it's time for a musical montage. I'm like a bit like, no. This time I was actually like, when I started hearing it, like starts with bubbles popping in. I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna do a musical montage. This is the perfect time for it. I was
Okay.
so excited for the musical montage, where usually I kind of dread it.
Okay.
And then yeah, the score in general is great. I think it does have like a little bit of a TV quality to it. Where the last score I thought was a little bit subtler, but still that is the score is such a big part of why this feels like a classic Barbie movie where it's just hitting that sweet spot of where it needs to be
Yeah.
of enhancing the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I even like the end credit song a bit.
That was nice too.
Like just as a like leaving the movie type thing. And yeah, Mermaid Party is the big music number here and it's fun. It's not nearly as fun as Queen of the Waves, but it's kind of a similar vibe.
Yeah.
But
It's repetitive.
yep,
Mermaid party.
yeah. It I don't know. I had fun with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gave the music a 4 out of 5. That was
I,
really solid. Yeah.
yeah, I also gave it a 4 out of 5, which leaves my final score a what I wouldn't have expected going into this a 21.5 out of 5, which is an 86% or a 4.3, which yeah, this is in my top 10, which I was not expecting going in at all.
Yeah, like
Um,
this laid into the films after like 26 films. I
yeah,
wasn't expecting another good one.
yeah,
So my total score is an 18.8, 75% or 3.7 5-star rating, which is I believe top 10 for me as well.
yeah. It's top 10 for both of us. It actually, our overall score is 20.15, which is an 80.6% or a 4.03, which interestingly enough actually gets it higher on our overall list than on both of our individual lists. It is number 5 overall. Um, right behind Rapunzel, right ahead of Island Princess. And then for me, it's 7. So that's kind of between Three Musketeers and Fashion Fairy Tale. And then for you, I have it at number 8. So that's right beneath
Mm-hmm.
Swan Lake and before Mermaid Tale 2. So we have it at similar spots on our list, but then on the overall list, it shot up to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I wasn't expecting this at all going into this, and yet as the movie was played out, I was like, oh, this is really working out. And I was a little bit worried, like, is it gonna pull it off? Is it gonna make it to the final act, or is it all gonna fall apart? And it didn't fall apart, and it was just so much fun.
It was so much fun. It's really nice to have something really nice.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we have next week.
Yeah. I keep waiting for these to drop off in quality, and hopefully next week isn't that, but we'll see. Um, but anyway, thank you everyone for listening, and make sure to follow us on social media. We are Binging Barbie Podcast on Instagram, at Binging Barbie on Twitter, and Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast on Letterboxd. There you can find an up-to-date list of all of our rankings. We kind of said where this one fits, but um anyway, as you were saying, next week we will be talking about Barbie and the Secret Door, which I don't know. I'm optimistic for this one given how good Pearl Princess was. But I've also heard this one compared to Fairy Secret, which for
Hmm.
me is exciting. For you, that might not be quite as exciting.
Yeah.
And I don't think it bodes well for the score overall for either of us.
But we'll
But
find out.
yeah. So tune in next week. Hear what we think of Barbie and the Secret Door. Is it better than Pearl Princess? We'll have to see. Bye.
Bye.